to build such a vehicle. Again, we are looking at the question of financing because we need a lot of financing. This venture is extremely expensive.
Companies like Ecomobilas say they are still optimistic about the future in local manufacturing.
Kenya is making stride in e-mobility adoption. However, issues like that of the e-mobility draft policy is yet to capture the local essence of local manufacturing of e-mobility vehicles. Alan Auko, Take One.
Good evening, and we're coming up on air with some breaking news. The much-awaited meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart, President Xi Jinping, has finally taken place at Busan Airport in South Korea. Some of the issues to be discussed include how to tighten the grip on rare earth minerals, as well as Chinese purchasing of American soybeans, and of course the ongoing tariff wars between the two world largest economies. We are keeping tabs on that, and of course we should be giving you more update as we get. Currently, the two leaders are held up in a closed-door meeting, and of course we're keeping tabs of what is happening. Welcome to the show. This is BizCheck. We're live from Broadcasting House. My name is O'Brien Kimani. This morning, we are focusing on two issues. One of them, Kenya's industrialization agenda, and what we are doing about this. Remember, Kenya's manufacturing base has always been at a paltry 9%, despite various government initiatives to boost this number to about 15% by the year 2027. And you can be guaranteed that we are on track to meet that target as well. The question is, what do we need to do to boost the manufacturing base here in Kenya? And of course, push the numbers up. When you look at the world top 10 economies, you don't have an economy that has ever jumped into the industrialized or into the wealthy bracket without three things: industrialization, or manufacturing if you like it, mining, and technology, as well as innovation. And so for Kenya to progress to the next level, those three things are critical. We should also be looking at project management. You see, project management is very critical in the delivery of every project. And that's why Project Management Institute of Kenya is joining us this morning so that they can help us understand what is the role of project management in delivery of various projects. And of course, later on, we shall be looking at the future of jobs. I'm sure you have heard about this. The artificial intelligence is taking over your jobs, my job as well. I've always told you about the newscaster called Kim in South Korea and what she is doing, and the future of news anchoring, as well as the job that you are doing. I've told you that you are right on time for BizCheck, where we are live from our national headquarters. This is Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and time is coming up to 10:10, and we want now to get right into the topic. And I told you the first hour, we are looking at the conversation around project management here in Kenya, and we're joined by the CEO of Project Management Institute of Kenya. Thank you very much indeed. It's nice to see you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Help us understand what is the role of PMI in Kenya?
Okay. Thank you very much, and for inviting me to your studio. First, I'll just start by introducing who we are. We are an affiliate or a local chapter for the Project Management Institute Global USA, and we are one of the 300 other chapters across the globe. What we do is we're an association that brings together all the project, program, portfolio managers across the country, and we are the professional body that certifies them and creates a community for engagement. Mm-hmm. As you've rightfully put it, for any country to succeed, projects are critical. projects are critical. And as a result, that's the value, and that's where we play. We've got 1,400 members, and we're doing our best to make sure that we drive and collaborate with the government to drive execution and delivery of initiatives. Mm-hmm. I look around and I can see so many stalled projects in our communities. Yeah, and our contribution as a profession is to make sure that we drive these conversations, collaborate, upskill our government delivery agencies, upskill organizations that are delivering projects across Kenya, and to make sure that we champion best practice, make sure that we nurture the profession development, and lastly, advocate for the significance of project management in Kenya.
You're talking about helping government in the delivery of various projects. Is your focus only on public projects?
Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. We do believe that even to just drive GDP across the country, we need thriving organizations. So our project managers are cut across various industries. We've got project managers in the health sector, non-governmental organizations. We've got project managers in financial services, aviation industry, events, in academia as well. Mm-hmm. And we believe that by providing professional services in delivering of any project, you know, what we do in a nutshell is simply putting your strategic intention into action. So any organization, you don't have to be public service that you require someone whose sole responsibility is to make sure that they deliver your strategic intention on time, on budget, objective, and within the quality. So we cut across multiple industries.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at both the public and the private sector, of course we know, I mean, in a country like Kenya, the government is a major player in all projects in this country, and the government is a major investor in most infrastructural projects. Who has a lot of project delays, financial mismanagement when it comes to project execution?
I think I would have to delve deeper to get the research around that. But I believe the most impactful projects for any community would be the projects that are driven by the public service. Mm-hmm. And if you're familiar with the recent audit report that was issued in the last month by the Auditor General, mm-hmm. She spoke to the fact that 158 of our projects across our 12 devolved units have actually stalled. What does this mean? It means that we are leaving communities with unfinished schools, health institutions, dispensaries, that haven't been completed. So we're not getting value for money in investment that have been put by our government. As a result, also, it also means that the people are losing trust with their government, right? And this public service services are things that are going to drive and help us meet our strategic intention, including achieving our 2030 SDG goals. So I think there is much more value with us. Instead of just pointing a finger and criticizing the government, what can we do as a professional body to step up? Because we know we are experts in delivering of projects. So what are we doing there? We've partnered with Government Delivery Unit. We've got an MOU ongoing. Mm-hmm. And the idea here is to make sure we are able to do some capacity building for this government officials who are responsible for driving delivery of projects. On top of that, we're also making sure that our professionals are also certified and trained with the best practice across the globe. Mm-hmm. We make sure that we have trainings, we've got webinars, we've got conferences. We also make sure that we expose them to best practice across international standards, so that we're not just maximizing project success for our local country, but also for the world. And on top of that, just to make sure that the government knows that they have a practicing institution that is willing to support them with the credentialed members that they require, mm-hmm. to drive initiatives.
Mm-hmm. You talked about having 300 members?
1,400.
1,400.
Yeah.
Are they enough to monitor all the projects that are taken here in Kenya?
Absolutely not. Our recent statistics actually tell us that we currently have around 150,000 approximate certified project managers. And this is not enough to cut across. And the demand...
150,000?
150,000.
In Kenya?
In Kenya, yeah. Project practitioners who are actually certified and credentialed. But this is not enough for us to meet the demand that is actually growing. I think about when the recent government entered office, they made promises around affordable housing, building network cabling, optic cabling. They promised to build development centers in our wards. And as we can see already, we're struggling to meet that demand. Also, with the consideration for the 2030 sustainability development goals, it means that we require more professional people, more certified experts to support them with this delivery. So the demand is actually going to increase. Our numbers actually tell us that by 2035, we expect these numbers to have doubled. So it's not enough. And as a professional body, what we are trying to do, including my presence here today, is just to advocate for that significance of project managers so that we are able to inspire and motivate other individuals to join our cause to make sure that we have experts delivering on our strategic intentions.
As PMI, you have about, you talked about 1,400 400 practitioners registered with you.
Yes.
And you're talking about a country with about 150,000 certified practitioners.
Yes.
Where are the other 139,000?
Exactly. So we need to make a lot of noise to make sure that we're able to pull them into the body. They're driving initiatives for their organizations, for the public sector, but they're not fully aware that we actually exist as a body. So we're making a lot of noise.
And how many years have you been in existence?
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
And majority of them don't know that you exist?
Absolutely.
Why is that the case?
So I think we haven't been doing a very good job in raising awareness on our presence and our value here. But we are working on that. This year, we put a critical focus on that. In the last, since I took over the president's docket last year, we have grown from 1,000 to 400. So you can see that there's exponential growth in that, and we're working towards making sure that we raise and increase awareness on the value of project managers and the value of actually joining a professional body. On top of that, we're also working on a bill just to make sure that we're able to regulate professional project managers in the country. So I believe with that conversation that we're having, we'll be able to increase the value for these certified members to actually join our body and practice together.
You know, you're talking about more than 148,000 certified public management officers being outside your bracket, and this is a significant number.
Absolutely.
And you're saying that in the last 1 year, you have managed to register about 400.
Yes.
If you continue by this pace of registering 400 practitioners every year, in 10 years, you're going to be about 5,000. Yeah. Is this number good enough?
No, absolutely not.
So
absolutely
what do you need
not.
to do to upscale this number?
I believe using forums and platforms such as this to make sure that we raise awareness on what we're doing as a body. Secondly, just sell this proposition. Why should a professional project manager join a community of other practicing practitioners? So part of what we're doing, including our flagship events, upcoming, we've got our National Excellence Gala Award dinner. And through this dinner, our attempt is to make sure that we recognize and embed a culture of excellence in our project managers across the country. We have invited organizations across Kenya, individuals to put up their names, to recognize projects that have been delivered exceptionally well. Making this noise and raising this awareness, we believe we'll be able to attract more professional project practitioners into our body. On top of that, we also, as PMI Global Institute, one of the things they've done is also tailor-made certifications to make sure that we're able to encompass all industries and skill sets. I'll give a good example. In the past, our gold standard for project management was the PMP certification. But on top of this, we've added, the PMI Institute has also added additional gold standard certifications just to make sure that they're attracting other skills. One of them being the Agile certification. We've got the construction project management certification now tailored just for project managers in the construction industry. We've got the PMO certification for project management offices. Anyone who's trying to set up a project management office, they've got their own credential. We also have the green project manager. We, as a country, as the world, we're also going green. So how do we support project managers who are also involved in delivering of green sustainability and renewable energy initiatives? On top of that, we've also they've also considered factoring in resources who are driving projects for risk or compliance organizations. And I believe by making sure that we've got a wide array of certifications and tailoring these needs, we're able to also attract all those other practicing practitioners that have not seen the need to join the community.
You're talking about the bill that is pending before Parliament, the Project Management Professionals Bill, which seeks to regulate this industry and ensure that only certified professionals are given mandate to manage projects. Tell us more about this bill and your input in this and how you expect this bill to change the face of PMI.
Well, let me start with the last bit. I believe that if this bill is actually passed, what it will do is that it will make sure that anyone who calls themselves a project manager will require to be certified, and on top of that will require to be a member of this association. So by doing that, we'll definitely see an uptick and an increase in our membership as an association. That's to start with the last question. But also, I believe that ensuring that our practice is regulated will ensure that we have professionals who are championing best practice and making sure that they're delivering according to the world global standard. We will reduce situations where we've seen projects that have been delivered below quality and not following the guidelines of ethics and morality in our organizations. So I do believe that what regulating this, passing this bill will do for us is, on top of just making sure that our association also grows in membership, it will make sure that we are able to have people who are practicing project management in the best way possible, and that will make sure that our people get the services they actually demand. And on top of that, for any sponsors or organizations that put in money, they'll be able to get a return on their investment.
How are you engaging Parliament to ensure that this bill is fast-tracked? Because at the end of the day, it seeks to help improve the face and the image of PMI and professional managers facing the country.
Thank you for that. So recently, as late as last month, we have engaged with the Government Delivery Unit. And the idea here is to get support on how we can work together collaboratively with the government, because the Government Delivery Unit is at the center of delivering of most of our projects across the country. So we believe with the support of the GDU, we'll be able to drive conversations Secondly, project managers are seen mostly as, of course, the people that actually get the work done. But we also want to move over and above that. We want to work with Treasury, for example, where all the decisions are actually made, to see how we can assist with the actual planning before the assignment of funding in a particular project. And we believe that working closely with this government unit will be able to drive and ensure effective delivery.
When you engage with the Parliament, when do they plan to start debate on this bill?
So they have sent it back to us already. So we already took it to Parliament, sent it back to us with a few changes. So what we are actually working on is amending those changes together with
and what are these
consultations. Quite a few, but just to mention but a few, one of the things to make sure we do some lobbying around the country. Number two, work closely with other professional institutions. We've partnered with for example, the Association of Architectural Architects in Kenya. We're also working closely with the construction project managers who sit under this particular association to see how we can come together to make sure we have one collective bill.
Very good. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Maureen Bithi Ochang. She's the president of the PMI here in Kenya. And of course, our conversation is how to ensure that we incorporate and inculcate a culture of engaging professional managers when it comes to critical projects. You're watching this check, and it will be alive from Broadcasting House. I want to hear this from you, Bithi. When you look at the bill that is pending or that is supposed to be debated in Parliament, Parliament have of course shared back the document to you as professionals so that you can engage widely. So in this case, who are you engaging with, and when do you plan to take back the bill to Parliament?
So as a start, we're working with the Government Delivery Unit, as I mentioned, to see, to get us access to Treasury and other big parties to see how we can drive this. Also, like I've mentioned, we are working closely with other certified bodies, including the AAK, ISK, IEK, to see how we can collaboratively drive this conversation, because all these bodies are also responsible for some of this projects. We're also looking for a sponsor. Also, just to mention, in the housing agenda for the country, what we're also doing there collaboratively with these other bodies, just to create a sense of a proof of concept, for example, of the value that project management can actually bring, is professional bodies have come together to see how we can support the government agenda in the housing forum, and to enable them deliver on that ambitious goal that they promise. And we believe that by starting with this quick, simple wins, we'll be able to show the value of project professionals to our government and get that buy-in from Parliament. Yeah.
The Kenya Institute of Project Management, has also been at the forefront of helping train project managers and, of course, ensuring that they are well certified and they get placements in the local industry. How do you work with this, with the Kenya Institute of Project Management?
So we're currently looking for ways for us to collaborate. I know, and that's part of the reason why the bill was actually sent back, because as a country, I believe the need for a country is that all professional bodies working in projects come together and collaboratively work together. So what we're trying to do around that is just to make sure that we are working together, that we come together to have one agreement before we present ourselves back to Parliament on what value we can do together, as institutions.
Do you feel that it is high time now the government created a regulatory body, and I know this is one of the proposals, to regulate project managers in this country?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So right now we don't have anybody that is in charge of regulating professionals in this journey. So you have everybody in that space. What kind of damage is this doing to this profession?
Maybe as a start, before we talk about the damage that it's creating, I think what it also presents is we don't come out as a force that is collaborating. So I believe that's the first point of call. How do we bring together all the bodies that are actually want to better project management delivery in our country?
And there are many in Kenya.
Absolutely.
How many are they?
Around 4.
4 of you.
Yeah.
Do you speak?
Yes, we do, and we've started the conversations. One of the things I've mentioned is around the construction project managers who sit under the AK. So we are having those collaborative
But I know there is also a
conversations.
bill to regulate construction project managers.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. The ask by our government is that, can you guys go back, sit together, and come back to us as one joint organization? So that's what we're trying to work around.
So who is leading in that effort?
I'd say,
is it PMI?
I'd say PMI, because we are the ones who've reached out to all these organizations to see how we can work together. So far we have had conversations. Yes, we have conversations with the construction project managers, and we've even involve them in some of our conversations, our webinars, so we're working together. And then now we're also working with the Kenya Institute of Project Managers as well.
Which
so
is the other fourth agency or organization?
The name doesn't come to mind right at the moment, but the idea is just to make sure that any institution that is, because all of us want the same thing. All of us want to support and collaborate with the government and other organizations to make sure that we elevate the competency of project management. The science of project management is the same, the art of project management is the same. All of us just want professional individuals driving project management. Yeah.
So I still want you to respond to my question. I mean, the fact that we don't have a regulator in this industry, I mean, is a risk, whereby now you would expect everybody to be playing this space because there is no policing of this industry per se. And first of all, do we have a challenge with fake professionals?
I cannot say no, because I know for a fact that we do have individuals who would purport or call themselves project managers, but have actually not gone through the training. Yeah, so absolutely, that will definitely pose a risk.
So they are fake professionals?
I wouldn't say fake professional. I'm just saying someone who will be calling themselves a project manager, but they're not actually certified. Yeah.
So yes, they have gone through the training, but they are not satisfied.
They've not gone through the training.
Or they haven't even gone through the training.
Yes, but they've been managing projects for some time and they call themselves a project manager.
By the fact that they have been managing projects.
Yes.
But we also have a challenge of professionals who have gone through the training, but they are not certified.
Absolutely. Yes.
So how are you dealing with this double problem?
Yeah. So one of the things as Project Management Institute that we're trying to do is inculcate that value and the reason for you to actually be certified, for you to call yourself a project manager. And in our association, the drive for all these 1,400 members to actually be credentialed is top of mind. So, like I said, with the various certifications, there's something for everyone. The idea is to make sure that everyone goes through the certification before you actually call yourself a project manager. And we're also working very closely with institutions of higher learning, such as Nairobi University, that offer courses also in project management to see how we can support with reviewing of their curricula to make sure that their curriculum is also aligned to project management as it sits right now. And we hope by doing this that also, even as they certify or we have diplomas in project management leaving the institutions of learning, that this will also mean that we are bringing people into the community and into our country who will be managing projects from a point of knowledge, with the technical knowledge that they actually require. Yeah.
When you look at your industry, and you're talking about 150,000 professionals in this space alone, and that is a significant constituency. How best should we regulate this industry without stifling growth and ensuring that we don't create layers of unnecessary bureaucracy?
I think as a start, the first point of call is what we've said around working with the government to, because like I said, in the government we have quite a few initiatives that are being run. How do we make sure that we build capacity for our government with any resource that is working in project management to ensure that they also have the credential and the skills to, and the technology know-how and the know-how to actually deliver on initiatives. So that's one point of call. Then secondly, as we work with our members in our institution, is to make sure that we are raising awareness on the value that they create, making sure that they step up to not only just focus on actually delivering the initiatives that they're delivering in the organizations, but also how do they add more value to the organizations from a strategic point of view and also from a benefit realization point of view. By elevating that conversation, I do believe that we'll be able to drive this agenda forward.
So in terms of regulating this industry, which ministry should be in charge of regulating this sector? Is it the National Treasury? Is it the Ministry of Public Works? Is it the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure Development?
So we haven't aligned on that as yet. I will come back to communicate that once we do. But
because I know that is also the conversation that the professionals in the industry are yet to agree with, because some are in the construction industry, others are in the health industry, others in the aviation industry, you know, monitoring project within the aviation space. And so there is no consensus, even among professionals in this industry, on who should be in charge or which ministry should be in charge of regulating this industry.
Absolutely. So that's just some of
But from where you sit, which ministry do you think is better positioned to ensure there is proper regulation of project management professionals?
From where I sit as a start, I think Treasury.
The National Treasury?
Yes.
Why do you feel Treasury?
Because the beginning of projects actually begins with the bringing together the resources and assigning financial resources to a project. So that's where we always start as a concept. So you agree, for example, on a construction work or road, for example, and that always begins at Treasury. They're the ones who actually make the decisions.
Well, Treasury makes a financial decision, but project planning, implementation, delivery, you know, it is done by the parent. If, for example, it's, let's say, the Mau Summit Road, it started with the Kenya National Highways Authority, which falls under the Ministry of Roads and Transport, whereby they came up with the drawings, the concept, the designs. Then they forwarded the same now to National Treasury for funding. So are you saying that is where you should come in, you know, at the funding level? Absolutely.
Because think about it this way. Even in an organization, when you're coming up with what initiatives you want to run as an organization, the executives need to sit down first. We are always working in an institution where the demand will always exceed what is actually available in our resources, right? So the executives need to come together and agree on, this is how much we have in our pool, what are the priority initiatives, right? If it's that Kura, if it's that road, then we assign it to the Ministry of Roads. But where do we make that decision? It has to be made at a financial decision at the center, so that we prioritize and assign our limited resourcing to the initiative that will actually drive the most impact for our communities and our country.
But when you look at project managers, where should they come in the whole value chain of project planning, execution, implementation? Where should they come? Is it at the initialization stage, at the conceptualization stage, implementation stage, funding project, stage? Where should they? What should be their entry point?
Good question. So currently, as it sits, project managers normally come in at execution phase, which is the central. So you've already agreed on this project or initiative, and you've now brought the resources together and you want to start the project. However, as a professional body, we are also evolving, and we are pushing for project managers to also come in at the beginning of project management. This is at the conceptualization stage, where we are saying that as you come up with the strategic intention, get a feel of some consultation from your project managers and your professional bodies on whether this is the best use of our limited resourcing. Why am I saying this? Because sometimes when you call a project manager and you're asking them to deliver the particular strategic initiative, you've already decided on prioritization, but there could have been a chance for us to actually reevaluate and prioritize another initiative that would have driven more impact and more value to the organization or the country. So the recommendation, and as we evolve as project managers, is that we're asking for a seat at the table, even as you come up with conceptualizing these ideas, that we can support with advisory to make sure that you're tying these initiatives to the strategic intention, to make sure that you have prioritized correctly, and then we can queue all the other initiatives based on prioritization. Yeah.
And when you look at project management professionals, what are their core competencies, and what value are they expected to add in a project?
Thank you for that question. So on top of the basics of a project manager, to make sure that they have the technical know-how and the science of project management to deliver the project on time, on budget, quality, and risk threshold for the organization. At Project Management Institute, one of the things we're looking at is a balanced professional. So we call it the talent triangle. So we look at three things. One, you've got the skills to actually deliver the project, the technical know-how, your agile methodology, your hybrid methodology, design, presentation, etc. That's technology. That's the knowledge and the skills of project management. But we also look at balancing this with the power skills, which are formerly known as soft skills. This is the interpersonal skills, because projects are actually made for people by people. So how do you bring all these individuals and subject matter experts who are supposed to be delivering on that initiative together? How do you make sure that they carry the vision? How do you make sure that you carry the people along as you deliver and minimize resistance in that initiative and get adoption even at the end of the project? That's the power skills. Then lastly, we also look at ensuring that they have business acumen. And by business acumen, we mean that they also need to be familiar as project managers with the environment that they are working in. So they're able to effectively drive decision-making as a start, and secondly, make sure that the initiatives are actually fitting the global trends and the strategic intention that is currently happening. A good case example would be you're running with an initiative to come up with a unique product offering in your organization, and you realize that the competition is already running with that as well. There would be no value for you to just deliver on the same initiative if your idea was to make sure you set yourself apart, right? So having that strategic acumen would be able to help you as a project manager to drive decision-making around, maybe let's tweak this product a bit further, or stop and start something else to make sure that we're able to differentiate and meet our intention. Yeah.
What are the professional qualifications of a project manager professional?
Thank you for that question. So some of the skills that require competencies, one would be the global standard certification that I've referred to make sure that you're credentialed. We've got the PMP that is globally recognized across the project management professional. We've got the portfolio management professional. We've got the program professional as well. On top of that, we also have the degrees in project management and the diplomas that I've mentioned that will give you that technical knowledge. But on top of that, I think it's also important for you to make sure that you expose yourself to delivering of this project, that you learn experientially.
What are the risks of starting a project without the input of a project management professional?
I think as a start, the one thing that I also tell my organization where I work currently is if you don't have a centralized project management office, for example, that is ensuring that you're bringing together all your resources to make sure that you're prioritizing these resources, to make sure that you have a value and impact once you deliver. What happens is you'll find that most people are actually pulling in their different directions. One organization that has multiple facets, you'll find that the little money that is there is actually being pulled in multiple directions. But bringing this resources together, what it does is that it reduces the risk of ensuring that people are actually able to deliver within the timeline that they promised and to deliver within quality. Pulling everyone to the table to make sure that you might find that you have multiple similar projects running across the same organization. But with a central project management function, what happens is that there's transparency and you're able to alleviate any risk of wasted resources.
I mean, when you look at projects, you know, they vary in size, they vary in budget, they vary in the number of professionals involved. And I want to give an example. You know, for example, when you look at the kind of a project that the construction of the expressway was vis-a-vis maybe the construction of, let's say, a small hospital, maybe a level 3 hospital, the level of funding, the level of professionals, the level of space that is needed is significantly different. So which project should you have a project manager on site or onboarded? Is it determined by the cost, by the value, by the significance of the project?
Okay, good question. So if you ask me, any project...
Is it your opinion or the professional opinion? This
is my professional opinion. Any initiative that is temporary endeavor, whether it's the level 5 or the construction of road or an event, you're always better off having a skilled project manager deliver that for you. Why? Because it creates that predictability, that once they have done their integration, they've brought in all the pieces together, the dependencies, identified all the stakeholders who are required to actually deliver, identified the requirements from all the stakeholders. With a professional project manager, you'll be able to identify the risks and manage them and make sure that you deliver within the budget, within the timeline, within the quality. Without a professional, what tends to happen is people are just putting the best foot forward. And what happens in such initiatives is that they'll tend to overrun because not everything was factored together. Having someone who's experienced and who's technically sound in project management will make sure that whichever event, whether it's whichever initiative, whether it's an event, including simple things like the Standard Chartered Marathon, you have a goal to make sure that you raise some money, for example. You have a goal to make sure that you have this and a number of attendees. You need to have that one person who integrates all the pieces together, make sure we've covered all the requirements, covered all our bases, and whose sole responsibility is to make sure that every stakeholder sticks to their timeline, sticks to the quality. They have no vested interest, because sometimes in a project you have subject matter experts and they're all pulling in different directions. So you need this one person who brings all this together, regardless of whether it's a complex project or a seasoned project. What I would say about the level of experience you would need is it would depend with the complexity of the project. So for very complex initiatives, definitely get someone who's more seasoned, someone who's more experienced in project management. And then for the simpler projects, you can work with your 1 to 2 years experienced project managers. Yeah.
Do you need a project manager for a project whose value is less than 1 million shillings?
Yes, in some initiatives.
Like if I'm putting up a house in my rural area in Kiambu County, and the house, let's say, is about 7 million shillings, do I need a professional manager? A professional project manager. I
would definitely advise for that. Why? Because you have, in that particular project, you're bringing in subject matter experts from different facets. You've got your contractor, you've got your quantity surveyor, you've got your architect, etc. You're trying to make sure that you want this house built within the quality standards, and to make sure that your house, your particular house is built in a particular time frame, and that doesn't supersede that 7 million budget, right? The value of having this experienced project manager.
The work of the quantity surveyor?
No. That's the value of having a project manager. A project manager controls all those 3 facets. That is their sole responsibility.
For example, let's take, for example, a typical project. Let's, for example, take the construction of a Talanta Stadium, for example. You need a resident engineer. You need a resident quantity surveyor. You need a resident architect on site. And you need the main contractor on site. And the person who is in charge of all these is the architect, right? So where does the project manager comes in, and who is going to supervise the other?
So the project manager would supervise all those 3 subject matter experts, absolutely. And the value that they play is to make sure that they represent the sponsor, whoever is funding this initiative, and the beneficiaries of this initiative.
But how will a project manager, for example, supervise a professional like an architect? Yet the project manager is not an architect.
Absolutely.
So how will they? Isn't it supposed to be the other way around?
No. So in any particular project, what the hierarchy of the project would look like this. You have the sponsor at the top, whoever is funding the initiative. So that is the financier? Yes. Then you have the project owner, the benefit relation outcome owner, whoever is going to benefit from the initiative, or the customer that has requested for this initiative to actually be put together. And then all
so like, for example, let's take the Mau Summit Rironi Highway. You know, and try to develop that hierarchy of management. So on top you have China Roads and NSSF. Those are the financiers, right? Okay. Then the government of Kenya, GOK, is the owner of the project.
Yes.
Through Kenha.
Yes.
Sindio. Then who should come after Kenha or GOK?
So after Kenha, who should come would be the project manager. Then you've got
project
all
manager.
the other suppliers. You've got the contractors, you've got the workforce that's actually building the road, you've got the individuals that are actually supplying materials for building of the road. So what this project manager does at the center is to make sure that they come up with an all-encompassing schedule, first and foremost, that make sure that we have all the resources, make sure they take care of all the dependencies. I'll give a good example. We can't start the road before we have the materials on site, right? We can't start building before we have the money on site, for example, and paid. So that we make sure that you have one person who is holding everyone to account, keeping all the subject matter experts to account, and ensuring that there is no, let me say, mischief running around. Also, their responsibility is to make sure that they keep people focused on the vision of actually delivering on this particular road. So that's the role that they play. They have no other role in the project other than keeping people focused, holding them to account by the timeline, the quality they promised, and factoring all the other dependencies and making sure that they remove any impediments beforehand so that we don't actually don't materialize to becoming issues. Yes.
You know, for somebody who is watching this program and, of course, listening to us, and they are asking, so at what point do you onboard the project manager?
Essentially, in most organizations, you come up with your initiative or your business case and you say, I would like to deliver, for example, a unique product. At that point in time, once you're clear on the concept note of what you're trying to deliver, then you assign a project manager. And the role of the project manager is to make sure that they review the entire array of delivery, make sure that we've covered all the requirements, we are clear on the scope, we are clear on the objective, we are clear on how much money is required for us to do the delivery. So at that point in time is when you assign a project manager. And then they make sure that they bring the team together, and then you can initiate the project.
What are the charges of a project manager? Is it written? Like we know the charges of an engineer, the charges of an architect, a quantity surveyor, all of them are captured in the law. What about for project managers?
So that is not cast in stone yet. And that's something that we are working on, even as we work on the regulation.
So this is based on the concept of kuelewana?
At this point in time, I would say that. And also, we have, in the market, we have rates that we have agreed upon,
and
largely
these rates are developed by who?
Just through research. So we've got 3 levels of project managers. We've got your junior project managers, then you've got your intermediate project managers, and you've got your senior project managers. So those market rates have been agreed upon in a large scale in the market. And when you are commissioning a project and you require services from a project manager, you reach out to a company and they would offer you a rate card based on that standardized rate. Yes.
Very well. If you're just joining us, we're in the company of a president. This is the president of the Project Management Institute of Kenya, President Maureen Bithi, and we are looking at the importance of having project managers in any project, the role that they play, and what are their deliverables, and of course helping to manage cost and ensure that the execution of a project is done within budget and on schedule. Maureen, before I let you go, help us understand things. When you look at this industry, where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
As it currently sits, we're living in a very volatile economy. Geopolitical-wise, the advancements in technology are changing very rapidly. So I believe the demand for project managers is going to increase exponentially. And as I said at the beginning of our conversation, the demand is growing quite exponentially, even as it is right now. So if I was to speak to our young professionals who are looking for space or professional organizations or somewhere to actually grow, I would say I would definitely recommend project management as a skill set that you need to acquire. Most of our development is actually tied to projects. You know, these short-term endeavors to make sure you're able to drive and deliver on something strategic or an initiative. So my recommendation would be that you consider pursuing a career in project management. We have seen how versatile it is. Like I said, we have project managers in the health sector, we have project managers in technology, we've got project managers in the NGO sector, public sector. So I believe that the skill is also quite transferable. And the science of project management applies across multiple industries. So that gives you an opportunity to be very versatile. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good. Anything else do we need to know from Maureen?
I think just in closing is to speak to what we are doing as PMI in the upcoming few months. We've got our mentorship day on the 14th of November, where we'll be launching a mentorship program. And again, this is aligned to how we are planning to support professional development in the country. The idea is to come up with a structured program on how we can pair experienced, seasoned professionals in project management with the less seasoned project management professionals, and to see how we can grow our students and younger professionals in this career, and also just transfer of knowledge and build our membership. Then we've also got the National Gala Awards dinner happening on the 5th of December, which will be quite significant, where we want to recognize projects and individuals who have delivered exceptionally, and with a key focus on delivery for social initiatives as well, social good. Mm-hmm. And in this, welcoming anyone who's interested also to participate, and also welcoming partners, like-minded partners, that we can work together to drive delivery for our country and make this a better place for all of us.
Very good. Madam President, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, and of course for sharing with us those insights around project management professionals, their role, responsibilities, and of course where they fall in. Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very good. Maureen Bithe. Bithe is the president of Project Managers Institute of Kenya, joining us this morning to help us understand the role and the responsibilities of PM professionals in our socio-economic setup. You're watching the Base Check program live from our national headquarters, and of course we're coming to you live from KBC. Our next conversation is around artificial intelligence and the future of jobs, from AI musicians to AI newscasters. Artificial intelligence is taking over the world by storm. What's next? The conversation is coming up next, after the break.
Ng'ombe ashavunjika mguu, na ilivyo kawaida ng'ombe akivunjikia mguu malishoni sharti arudi zizini apate matibabu.
Sasa aliyekuambia mwambie azungumze ni nani? Yuwajua nini? Tulia kidawa.
Kwa nini hukuniletea?
Hukuniuliza?
Kazi yako ni nini hapa?
Nita, please. Lakini wajua sipendi anapokutendea wewe.
Hayo ni maisha yake. Maisha yangu yamebarikiwa na furaha.
Yule msichana mbona ukamleta ndani yenu?
Tafadhali be moved usiniumize.
Unaona shida ile umetuletea?
It's art, it's culture, it's fun, it's attitude.
As you can see with me, I have this handkerchief. And is it really a handkerchief or is it?
My name is Kevin Kasioki. Please join me each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
This is a healthy orchard of Hass avocados, a high-yielding cash crop sought after for exports. These trees look healthy and bountiful, but it was never always this way. Kinyua Kanata, the owner of this farm, attributes the changes to his solar trap device.
Forced coloring mode is not climate specific. It will attack fruits in both cold and warm regions equally. And it is a quarantine pesticide that if it is discovered in a container, for example in Europe or China, that container is taken back.
Kanata found out about a local innovation developed by one Mutuma Morioki, who, with a 1 million shillings grant from Haifa International's Ayute program, developed the device.
This is one of the solutions that we provide, the solar trap, where the farmers now we are able to help the farmers eradicate the forced codling moth through the use of solar, in this case.
Included in this device is a 5-watt solar panel which traps light from the sun to charge the device batteries. The panel also powers several sensors that detect and isolate pests. The LED light bulb works to attract specific pests, especially the destructive false scalding moth FCM. At night, the LED light turns on to attract pests, which then fall into the soapy water below and are trapped from escaping.
It's the way we've designed it is it's an industry use application where it can get rained on, it can get all the dust, it can get everything, and it will still function properly in the farm. In the households, it can't work because maybe you might ask about mosquitoes. We've designed it more for the agricultural industry.
Farmers who have used the system say the device can reduce pests by 80%, with plans including the incorporation of a global positioning systems. Since 2023, over 200 farmers have benefited from the technology. Morioki says the device costs 30,000 shillings with a lifespan of 5 years, where farmers can return the gadget to the innovator to be repurposed. Morioki's dream is to expand his operations countrywide to benefit more farmers who are battling pests. But for now, the LED lights continue to illuminate in Meru County, with every flicker giving farmers more hope.
The power of voltaics applied not only for water solutions. This is applying local solutions for local problems. Alanauko for Tech One.
Good, well, welcome back to the second hour of Base Check. And I'm just sitting here and wondering what the future will look like, because you have AI musicians, you have AI doctors, you have AI news anchors, you have AI reporters, you even have AI dogs. And so virtually you have AI everything. And that is the future. And actually, as we sit here, nobody has an idea how the future will look like, but we all have an idea of what will drive the future, and that is AI. I'm joined by a man who has lived through the AI age, and he has an idea of what the future of jobs will look like in the next 10, 20, 30 years. I'll be asking him whether he will be guessing or whether what he'll be basing his arguments on. And this is none other than Fadel Al-Tarzi. He's from Egypt. He's the CEO of Nextford University, an online university based out of Washington, D.C. in the United States of America. Thank you very much indeed, Fadel, for joining us. First of all, give us a brief background of who is the man in front of us.
Thank you for having me this morning. My name is Fadel Al-Tarzi, and I am from Egypt, as you indicated. I left Egypt about 20 years ago. By background, I studied business and technology, and I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 or 25 years now. I started my first business at age 18. Nextford is probably my fourth or fifth company. And the reason I started it is out of a desire to build a business that has the potential for significant positive social impact. So I have this fundamental belief that lack of education is the root cause of most world challenges. So if we could address that challenge, then we can enable very significant social and economic mobility across the world.
You are the founder and CEO of Nextford University?
Yes.
Which is a virtual university. And you're telling me that you have about 15,000 students spread all over the world. How did you decide to come up with a concept of an online university?
So originally, the idea was not to build a university. Originally, I asked myself, why is it that what universities are teaching seems to be so disconnected from what employers are looking for? And why is it that this was back in 2019, still less than 10% of the world's population has a college degree? It just doesn't feel logical. With all the resources and all the investments happening across the world, still a fraction of the world has a college degree.
Yeah.
So when I started analyzing that problem, it became clear to me that the traditional university model is no longer fit for purpose. It is a model that was designed centuries ago for an era that's no longer relevant today. So the notion that you have to go somewhere physical and spend X number of years there is not so appropriate for today's era, where people need to continuously learn throughout their lifetimes. At the same time, the concept of having to sit in a classroom physically, was again, it seemed disconnected from reality when people are working remotely all across the world in different places. What universities are actually teaching was so theoretical as well, to a large extent. So learners were graduating, finding themselves unemployable. So there was just a lot that was broken with the system. In the US in particular, cost was a massive, massive issue. So there's over $1 trillion in student loans. So about 80 or 90% of college tuition is paid through loans. That infrastructure doesn't exist outside of America, which means if you don't have money, you just don't go to university. So the whole system seemed to me like it was significantly outdated. And that's what eventually led us to say, okay, well, we need to build a new system from scratch, as opposed to try to work with existing universities in upgrading their existing infrastructure.
In short, you look at the whole educational ecosystem and you just removed it and decided to come up with a new concept on your own. Help us understand this. Technology is disrupting everything, from medicine to education, where you are, and even to media, whereby now we are sitting inside a legacy media concept, where the new media is taking place, and the disruptions are everywhere. So when you look at education, the brick and mortar concept of education, do you see it lasting another 50 years?
If we're talking about brick and mortar as in like traditional campus-based universities that are offering programs 100% online, 100% in person, led by faculty lecturing people for hours, the answer is no. Definitely
it's not going to be there.
No. I would be willing to bet, very heavily that any university offering that style of education will cease to exist 50 years from now.
50 years from now.
Even less, I would say, like within the next 20 years.
Even 20 years from now.
I don't think these will exist anymore. Anyone that does not adapt will not exist. So they may not disappear completely. So like with any business, it's like banking is a great example, right? So if you look at traditional banks and then you look at fintechs. So traditional banks, had they not offered online banking and had they not modernized their infrastructure, generally speaking, they would go out of business. Most of them have offered online banking and mobile banking and started offering new products over the years. That being said, the fintechs, to a large extent, have still taken over. In terms of growth, most of them are growing much, much faster than traditional banks because they're designed for an online experience from scratch. And that's very different. When you take a 100-year-old organization and try to modernize it versus building an organization from scratch in a way that's much more efficient and designed for the current era that we live in, the second tends to win. So I think universities find themselves in that position. Some of them will manage to evolve. Others will cease to exist. And I think the vast majority will cease to exist, whether here or in the US.
And so for Dale, when you're seated inside a room with vice chancellors, chancellors, and CEOs of traditional universities,
yes,
what do you tell them?
I mean, I tell them that history tends to repeat itself across industries, and we've seen the nature of disruption happening across many other sectors, and that disruption is now inevitable in education. I think the root cause is not disruption for the sake of disruption. It is because the outcomes are not there. So I asked them one fundamental question. When people come to your university, what do they expect? And the reality is, people go to university to get jobs. So I asked them, why do you exist? And if their answer is not the same, to help people get jobs, then my advice to them is there's a disconnect between what I call the buyer and the seller. So the buyer is going to university, investing in a service, expecting that service to help them get a job. If the seller is not expecting to help them get a job, then there's a disconnect. And therefore, they will no longer buy your service in the future.
But even the answer itself, I think it sounds faulty to me, because the whole point of going to a university is not to get a job, is to acquire a skill that will help you solve a problem. And so even the way then they are architectured, then it is wrong, because that is not how the world of the future is going to look like. I mean, people are becoming more self-driven. The world where we are living today, the education should not to help people to look for jobs, but to create jobs and to solve problems through the education acquired. And so there comes the other question. When you look at the modern day educational system, is it training young people to become conversant with the future that we are getting into?
Yeah. So we have to break it down for a second. So what is the ultimate goal of acquiring a skill? So the ultimate goal of acquiring that skill is career progression. So we have to be very practical about it. Many people make the similar argument that people go to university for different reasons, right? To prepare for life, for social reasons. Let's face it, a big part of it is social reasons. If a guy in Kenya here is going to go propose to their in-laws, their in-laws are going to ask him, do you have a college degree, right? It's a fair question. If they say, no, I learned on YouTube, it's not going to go down so well with your future father-in-law, right? So it's similar. But practically speaking, the real reason people get degrees is ultimately for career progression. So those skills are to be able to be put to work. People don't want to acquire skills just for the sake of having skills. They need to apply those skills and use those skills. So universities need to adapt to that reality. If this was a 2-month investment of $100, then they would not need to have as distinct of an outcome, as in like actually get you a helpful job. But if I'm going to spend 3 or 4 years studying somewhere and invest thousands of dollars, it needs to have a very clear return on investment. Now, most of the current traditional universities are not, so to answer your second question, are not preparing people with relevant skills. That is the reality. Now, there are what we used to call soft skills. We refer to them as essential skills, and then there are technical skills or hard skills. The shelf life of the technical skills is decreasing, right? So if I learn a specific programming language today, it may no longer be relevant 2 years from now. But on the flip side, things like critical thinking and communication skills and collaboration has a much longer shelf life. So that is ultimately what universities need to be teaching people. It is really learning how to learn. So that is the most valuable skill. But many university models are still not designed for that. So they focus on memorization and passing exams. So people are ultimately going in order to accomplish one goal, pass the exam. And there's a difference between passing an exam and actually learning and acquiring a skill. They're not the same thing.
I've heard this from professionals in the technology and innovation space, that 70% of the skills that are being taught at school today will be irrelevant in 10, 20 years from now. Do you agree with them?
I do, yes.
So what will happen to us? And you included.
I mean, you and I think, aren't going to have that problem in 70 years. But did you say 7
well, I'm
years
not that
or
old.
70 years?
No, 7.
7 years, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with it either way. What's going to happen is those who have learned how to learn will flourish and continue to strive, because they will be able to learn and unlearn things. So if I learn how to do something in a specific way today, but I've mastered the ability to learn a new way continuously and evolve, I will continue to grow. But those who have not learned that skill, and back to my original point, have only learned how to pass assessments and pass exams, aren't going to do so well. And there's going to be mass unemployment as a result, because people are simply not going to be able to add value to employers. The needs of companies are going to continue to evolve. So if you're doing something in the same way, but the company needs a different way every year, then they're going to likely terminate you and find someone else that can evolve more. So agility is just becoming more and more important, I would say.
And how do you train an old dog new tricks?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think there it's really through applied learning. So, at Nexford, the way we do it is we try to teach people in a way that's applied as opposed to using like standardized assessments. So what we call authentic assessments. So if you're teaching someone, let's take something like communication skills, right? It's not about going into a course where you learn about communication. It's about applying communication across different verticals. So if you're learning about finance, or if you're in marketing or in HR or whatever the industry, you're learning, how do I communicate with finance professionals? Or how do I communicate with marketing professionals? How do I adapt my communication style depending on the context? So it's about really applied and authentic assessment and competency-based education model, which is what we advocate for at Nexford. We don't use any standardized assessments. We're always giving people contextual projects that mimic what they would actually do in the workplace. But fundamentally, people need to recognize the importance of learning how to learn rather than trying to pass an assessment or focusing on a specific exam.
Very well. If you're just joining us, we are in the company of Fadil. She's the CEO of Nexford University, which is an online-based university in Washington, D.C. He's joining us this morning to help us understand the future of jobs and how AI or artificial intelligence is disrupting the way we live. And I've just asked him what is the future of Fadil and O'Brien. And he doesn't even know, because I also don't know. Well, that's the kind of conversation we're having here. We just want to take you to Siaya County at the Kango Kajaramogi. This is the burial site of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, where Kikuyu Council of Elders, or Mau Mau veterans actually, are visiting the graveside. And now Willis Okech is joining us with the chair. Let's first of all hear what kind of conversation is going to take place there. Willis, if you can hear me, take it up.
Well, thank you so much, O'Brien, back in Nairobi. It is over 10 days, just probably this is the 11th day since Raila Odinga was arrested. The remains of Raila Odinga who were arrested just right where we are standing. This is the graveside that is lying at the Kango Kajaramogi here in Bondo. And despite Raila having been arrested, mourners continue to throng this place from all corners of the country and also beyond the borders, because yesterday we saw the retired Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo also that was accompanied by just a delegation of government officials yesterday when they came here to also pay their respect. And today, like Brian, as you have put it, the veteran the Mau Mau Veteran Association. They have come here and they've been led by the General Secretary, Gitu Akahengeri, that I believe is visible on our screens. Martin, if you just can tilt the camera just a bit to show Mzee, who is actually a centenarian, 104 years old, quite a massive achievement. And Mzee, I believe you can, you'll be able to speak to our viewers just very audibly. Naona uko na umati mkubwa sana ambao umeweza kuandamana nao hapa leo. Ujumbe gani umeleta katika familia hii ya Odinga?
Hapa leo nimeongoza watu waliopigania uhuru wa nchi hii kutoka katika nchi nzima ya Kenya, kutoka Namanga kuenda Moyale na kutoka bahari ya Hindi Mombasa mpaka Busia. Wale watu ambao walijitolea muhanga kupigana na Waingereza ili nchi yetu iwe huru, ndio tuko hapa sasa kuleta rambirambi zetu kwa sababu ya kifo cha shujaa mpenda watu Raila Amolo Odinga. Hii ndio sababu tumetembea maili nyingi sana kuja kutoa rambirambi zetu kwa watu wake wa nyumba yake, na vile vile watu wa hapa Siaya, watu wa Bondo, watu wa Nyanza nzima, kwa sababu tuliondokewa na mtu ambaye kama angeishi nchi yetu ingeendelea mbele mpaka mahali tulipokusudia. Kwa sababu tulipokwenda katika vita tulikusudia ya kwamba nchi yetu siku moja itakuwa kama Uingereza, itakuwa kama Amerika, itakuwa kama Italy ama Germany, kwa sababu sisi tunaweza. Na huyu mtu ambaye tumekuja kutoa rambirambi zake ni mmoja wa nchi yetu, shujaa ambaye angewezesha nchi yetu kupanda mpaka katika mataifa yaliyoendelea zaidi. Ni sikitiko letu kwa sababu labda hakutatokea watu wengine watakaoweza kufanya hivyo. Hapa vile vile tumekuja vile vile kukumbuka hata Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, baba yake Raila, kwa sababu tulikuwa na yeye vile vile kama tulivyokuwa na Raila. Wakati wa ukombozi alikuwa mbele kabisa kupigania uhuru na watu wengine. Na hawa watu naweza kusema hivi, wanapenda watu. Number 2, wanasaidiana na watu. Kama mtu anapenda watu na anasaidiana na watu, tuna hakika watu watapata kuendelea. Hii ndio sababu tumekuja hapa leo.
Wengi waombolezaji ambao bado wanapata nafasi ya kufika hapa wanahimiza tu amani na umoja. Wewe ujumbe wako kwa Wakenya ni ipi, na pia kwa familia ya Odinga?
Mimi nasema wale waliobaki baada yake, watoto wake na vijukuu wake, wafuate mwenendo wa Raila Amolo Odinga, kwa sababu ni mwendo wa imani, ni mwendo wa amani, ni mwendo wa maendeleo. Kwa hivyo wafuate hayo, na nchi yetu, nikisema kwa nchi nzima, kwa sababu mimi nimekuwa kiongozi wa nchi hii sehemu mbalimbali katika nchi yetu. Na kitu ambayo naona ni ya muhimu kuliko vingine ni kuwa na amani. Bila ya amani, mtu hawezi kukua, nchi haiwezi kuendelea, na nchi labda kama hakuna amani ni kuanguka, itakuja kuanguka. Hatutaki nchi hii kuanguka. Vijana walioko hapa sasa, wacha niwaambie historia moja ambayo ni ya muhimu. Wazungu walikuwa wanasomesha sisi mpaka standard 4. Ili tukijua kuandika 1 to 2000, wapeleke sisi katika mashamba yao ya kahawa, ya maziwa, tuwe makarani tu. Na ukifanya ukarani ukiwa mzee, unaambiwa lete mtoto yako ya standard 4. Halafu sisi tukaona why sisi hatuwezi kusoma kuwa madaktari, kuwa mawakili, kuwa engineer.
Well, the man you're seeing on your screen is a freedom fighter. Actually, one of the few freedom fighters left in our republic, and he's speaking to our reporter, Wycliffe Okech, at the burial site of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in Siaya County. And they have gone there as members of the Mau Mau veterans to pay homage to Raila Odinga, who was a friend of the association. That is the chair of the Mau Mau veterans, Geto Kahengeri, a freedom fighter and a celebrated hero of Kenya's liberation struggle. We are back in studio and we are waiting up with the company of Fadil Al-Tarazi. He's the CEO and founder of Nextford University. We've been discussing the future of work, the future of everything here. And Tarazi, before I let you go, I just want to hear from you. I mean, we are in agreement that, you know, students at the moment are not being skilled with the right skills for the future, so to speak. And so what is it going to happen? Aren't we then likely to have a job mismatch, a skills job mismatch?
Yes, definitely, and that exists today. It's existed for the past 10 years, even more. I think that what's going to happen is the gap will only widen. So unfortunately, the harsh reality is unemployment will only continue to rise until there's a fundamental shift in education systems. That mismatch exists, and when it's going to be compounded as a result of the automation that's going to take place from AI. So AI is going to take over a lot of jobs, plus a lot of the talent on the market is going to be underskilled, so unemployment will continue to rise as a result.
So what should we do so that we prepare for the future?
I mean, I think everyone just really needs to prioritize upskilling themselves, educating themselves, and taking a more proactive approach in figuring out what they should be learning, as opposed to relying on governments to tell them what they should be, because governments just have not been able to keep up with the rate of change. So I think it's up to parents and companies particularly to play a much larger role in telling the general public what they're actually looking for, what are the skills that they value.
How do you upskill yourself for a future that you don't know how it will look like?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think there are fundamentals like learning how to learn, like critical thinking, like communication skills, like collaboration that are going to remain. And then there are other areas, depending on the industry, where while we don't know the entire future, we know some specific areas are going to continue to thrive. A good example would be something like product management and product design. So if you're in the business or tech industry, the concept of how do you design solutions based on real problems is something that's going to continue to exist. So product-related roles are going to continue to thrive. Things related to data science, analytics will continue to increase. You know, cybersecurity will increase. So there are a number of industries that we can tell with a very high degree of certainty that are going to continue to grow very significantly over the next decade. So that's one area. You know, and then on an offline industries as well, you know, things like agriculture, for example, you know, how do you produce food more efficiently? How do you reduce waste? Energy, for example, green jobs, like how do you produce more solar power? How do you produce it more efficiently? So, you know, skills related to these industries are going to continue to exist, and the demand for those skills is going to continue to increase for sure.
So, what is your final remarks, and what would you advise somebody who is watching this show and wondering, where do they go from here?
I think if we think about AI and one's core strengths, I think is what people should focus on. So rather than the traditional thought process of pursue your dreams, I would say figure out what your core strengths are and double down on those strengths. Forget pursuing your dreams. Figure out what am I good at and how can I get much better at that. And the second is how can I become an AI-enabled employee, regardless of, or AI-enabled human, essentially. So it's really that combination of AI and human that's going to be very powerful. So AI is not necessarily going to replace humans, but it's definitely going to replace non-AI-enabled humans. So figure out how can you leverage technology to become a lot more productive. That's the best way to ensure that you can continue to add value in the job market.
Very good. Anything else?
Thank you.
Very good. Fadil Artazi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. We've been talking to Fadil Artazi, the CEO and founder of Next4 University based in Washington, D.C., and of course discussing the future of jobs, the future of everything. And you're watching BizCheck. We are live from Broadcasting House. Our next conversation is lined up next, and we are focusing on Kenya's industrialization agenda. We are talking to Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And remember, the Kenya Industrialization Conference is taking up place next week. We shall be discussing about that shortly.
I think the key thing is to bring professionals from across Africa to discuss emerging trends and what are the new technologies that corporates are using to turn around the business and build revenue. One of the things we've done over the 17 years we've had CI 100 is to make sure that not only are we focusing on their words, we're also focusing on a lot of interaction, a lot of knowledge sharing. There are a lot of side events that are going to go on. There's going to be a lot of professionals and experts who are also going to be there to talk about the technologies.
My standout project was having what we call the Avenue kiosk, whereby a patient comes and self-registers, and it fast tracks them from interacting with our front office desk, which could have queues of people trying to sort out different issues depending on what the patient is coming to the facility to do. But if it's a straight outpatient case where you know where you're going, you just go to the kiosk. If you're cash, even better, you just get to pay at the same kiosk, and then you get fast tracked all the way to the to see the triage.
Very good. Welcome back. You're watching BizCheck live from Broadcasting House, our third interview of the hour. We're talking to Joyce Njogu. She's the head of consulting and sustainability at the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We were also supposed to have a representative from the Ministry of Industry or the State Department of Industry, but unfortunately we were not lucky enough. So we'll pick it up from here with Joyce, and I just want to serenade you with some interesting statistics. When you look at industrialization in Kenya, it's very small, and manufacturing as compared to our GDP, you're looking at about 8%, which is very, very small. It has dropped from a high of 13% 10 years ago. It has been gradually declining. And the government has come up with various policies to try and boost these. Remember the Big Four agenda? Yes, the Vision 2030, the industrialization agenda, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. All these are all geared at making Kenya an industrialized nation. But the question is, why aren't we getting it right? Joyce, do you have an answer to that question?
Thank you so much for the statistics. And at the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we've been working very closely with the government, various arms of government, to address this same question. We've heard the right policies in place.
Yeah.
We've looked at various strategies that we've been working on. And the implementation is, of course, taking slow progress. But we also have some fiscal reforms that have been affecting us in one way or another. But we are also working so hard to attract investments, both by domestic investors and international investors, to try and boost this industrial base for Kenya. Because, of course, our industrial base is not so big compared to other parts of the world that are highly industrialized. So we are cognizant of that. But I must say, we are also scratching our heads and looking at
and burning the midnight oil.
Yes. How do we get to this 15% by contribution to GDP by 2017? And we have another ambition of 20%. I mean 2027. And a new ambition we created some time back on 20% by 2030.
By 2030,
so,
which is about 5 years from now.
Yes, just 5 years actually. But in the 3 years, at least 15%. But we are at now declining to 7.3%.
7.3%? We're not even talking about 8%.
No. So we are trying to look at what exactly is causing this.
Is it that the size of our GDP is growing faster than the rate of industrialization?
That could be a debate, not really the size of GDP, but other sectors growing faster, like service sector, and others growing faster, and hence making manufacturing contribution looking smaller. Yes.
Joyce, I mean, when you look at Kenya, I mean, and you rightly put it, we have the right policies in place. We are recognized globally for developing world-beating policies and blueprints and economic models. We have very qualified personnel to drive this agenda forward. Our problem is implementation. Sometimes long and wrong bureaucracy, lack of political goodwill, lack of proper funding, and missed priorities, and so much. So how are we going to address this? Because that is the root cause of our problems.
We must start by saying we have political goodwill. When you look at policies, really,
this time around,
are a sign of political goodwill. When you have the right policies in place. What we are looking at is innovation strategies on how do we move forward as the private sector especially, and how do we then aggregate as different from policymakers to private sector players and different actors like the financing sector, like you've rightfully said, to come up with innovative frameworks that can be worked along as a big group in order to build the industrial base. And I'm focusing mainly on the industrial base. And for instance, what we are planning for next week, the Kenya Industrialization Week, we are looking at one of the policies, like Buy Kenya, Build Kenya policy. We've seen that we have huge trade deficits as a result of high imports that are coming into this country and the industrial base not growing. So our trade deficits are very big. One of the concerns we have is how do we increase consumption of local products. And when we increase consumption of local products, then we bring inspiration to investors locally to be able to grow their manufacturing base and create jobs for Kenyans. So if we grow in that direction, where we are deliberate in how we innovate and how we improve and increase investments in the country, then definitely we'll start making good steps towards growing our manufacturing output in this country. And then we have some sectors that we have competitive advantage. How do we optimize those sectors, like leather, where we have access to raw materials? We are one of the biggest producers of leather in Africa. So how do we then go into value addition? So we have a lot of challenges of exporting raw materials instead of value adding, and that value adding component is what brings in more income earnings and increases, of course, our tax base. So those are some of the areas we are working on from the private sector side. Of course, from the policy side, we have some challenges like the fiscal policies that, you know, we change every year, the budgets, and long-term planning becomes a challenge. There are some sectors affected by certain tax policies. So we find that people are a bit hesitant in scaling up their investments until they're very clear around stability of our fiscal policy. But many other policies are in place. Local content, for instance, that looks at implementing or supporting or promoting cottage industries and protecting local industries so that they can be competitive. And at the same time, Kenyans can pay attention to these brands that are made in Kenya and consume them so that we increase our local consumption base. You know that world over, many countries are working towards improving local consumption. Yeah. And COVID taught us that, you must have some form of self-reliance in your country. Otherwise, if there are geopolitics that affect access to different markets or access to raw materials from other markets, then your industrial base goes down. So that's what we are working on currently, yes.
Let me take you back to history. And, back in 1968, when the government developed the first session or paper number 10 on industrialization as well as poverty reduction. And one of the key areas was to drive the growth of small industries.
Yes.
That did not work. Now we are talking about developing county integrated CIPes, county integrated something parks, whereby we want to drive or to take manufacturing, industrialization to the county level. A beautiful document, great intentions. How do we ensure that we get it right this time around?
So those are also new. For instance, the CIPes is a good initiative that has come up, and it's not new in the world. Many countries have looked at ways of promoting local manufacturing to the local level. So it's an inclusion strategy involving, and that's how cottage industries also come up. So how do you take industrialization to the villages? So that's the idea behind CIPes, County Aggregation Industrial Parks. And these parks then, there has been some promotion around how they are rolling out these parks in phases, but private sector must be involved. They'll be the main investors. And part of that session of paper you're talking about was around also privatizing or improving private sector investments in industries. At that time, a lot of the industries were mainly government-led or led by foreigners. So the idea was to improve and increase private sector investments. But this CIPes now is about how do we then take industrialization, which is highly concentrated in the cities. For instance, Nairobi has almost 60% of all the industries in Kenya, big industries. And then a bit of central province, a bit of coast province. So how then do we make sure other counties, we decentralize industrialization in a way we take advantage of raw materials in those sections? So for that to accelerate, everybody must be brought along, including private sector, so that they can see opportunities in those areas. First, access to raw materials, labor productivities, there are skills in those areas, cost of labor in those areas that can attract investments. The other area, of course, is utilities, access to water, electricity, quality, and sufficient to that. So if the CIPes follow that process, then it will be easy to attract private sector investments there. The other issue, of course, is infrastructure. We have some regions with the challenges in terms of infrastructure, so the cost of logistics goes high. So I must say, to some counties it will work faster, it will be easy to accelerate industrialization, but in other counties a lot of work has to be put in place. Yeah, to build those trade corridors in a way that it can be effective, efficient, and people can see value. And not just for local consumption, but also accessing other corridors for African markets and the global markets. Yeah.
We're talking about growing and developing industrialization, and you can't do these without reliable, cheap energy. You're looking at a situation whereby you're in a country of 60 million or 60 million plus people with a total power generation of less than 3,000 megawatts.
Yeah.
Is that enough to power an industrialized nation?
Well, for the time being, if you look at also what we are consuming, it's only just about 2,500 or 2,700 when we are at the highest peak. So
we are left with about 300 megawatts.
Yes, megawatts. And there was initially a plan to grow that to 5,000.
Yeah.
But then the issue is, how do we grow demand? How do we grow the number of industries that can consume that power? Because if we have too much power and very few consumers, then that cost of the extra power will be borne by the citizens and the industries. Then the cost of power will now go up. So the idea is to match demand and supply and make sure we keep increasing number of industries that can consume. At the same time, we are looking at energy efficiency. How do we make sure that we are not wasteful in our consumption patterns? So we optimize energy use and energy consumption so that, again, we are efficient, we are competitive. But if we go into issue of price, yes, as a country, we feel the cost of energy is quite high. And we've discussed this quite a number of times with government. And we are looking at having sustainable tariffs. And with our power coming, the generation mix coming largely from renewable energy, we find the geothermal base can increase, and that will be good for us. But from renewable energy, we see if we're over 90%, is it reflective, is it cost reflective in a way that we can see that we can gain that benefit? So the discussion around cost of power is huge, and there's the discussion again around quality. So we prioritize, of course, quality that is easily accessible as we look at bringing down the cost of power. And our proposal has been 9 cents, exclusive of tax, as a rate that we find is competitive.
9 cents USD.
Yes, 9 cents USD. And that's a discussion that's at the table right now with government. I must say there's a listening here. There's a task force currently working on that. Yeah, so we are cognizant of that to attract investments. We then have to look at those cost elements that are affecting our competitiveness as a country.
Very well. Let's now focus on what's happening next week, the third industrialization conference. What is going to happen next week?
Next week, we'll be inspiring Kenyans to come and dialogue with us. And I must say it's a beautiful partnership between government and the private sector of addressing industrialization growth patterns and strategies, the trends we've seen over time, and also looking at the future, having a prognosis of how the future will look like in terms of industrialization. So one of the things is to look at the policy framework, and we'll be having that in the conference, high-level discussions on the policy framework driving industrialization, driving trade, and also driving investments locally, and how then we are using that to drive export competitiveness. So we shall have, of course, the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry as our main partner, and the Cabinet Secretary will be there to open the conference. And from there, of course, the theme is about driving industrial competitiveness, also inclusive and sustainable manufacturing, and at the same time promoting trade partnerships. We'll be addressing all the trade partnerships that have been signed up in the country to enhance our production capacity and outputs, and looking at their performance. For instance, things like AGOA will be addressed. How much have we exported to those markets? We have the African Continental Free Trade Area markets that has been opened. How much are we doing that? We'll also be addressing issues of green manufacturing and procurement processes that support purchase of green products as part of local promoting local consumption. We'll be addressing labor competitiveness and at the same time cost of labor and the skills available in this country to move industrialization forward. And also issues of digitizing manufacturing, like the digital transformation infrastructure, building a resilient infrastructure in supporting whether it's logistics, whether it's modern equipments that manufacturers are using, financing models that can be used using the digital infrastructure, supporting currencies exchange across the various digital platforms. And lastly, issues of innovation. We'll be addressing research and development, innovation, aspects of protection, whether it's patenting, trademarking, and at the same time aspects of fair competition. So there'll be a lot of discussion in that context. Alongside that, we'll be having a showcase of locally produced goods, and we welcome Kenyans to come and see what is made in Kenya.
This is the Changamka Festival.
The Changamka Kenya Festival, which is the Kenya Manufacturing Summit and Expo. The idea is to showcase the quality of products that Kenyans are committing to, the innovations there. And we welcome Kenyans to come and share their ideas and feedback on issues like packaging, quality of the products. We are assuring Kenyans that goods made in Kenya are high quality, well assured by our quality infrastructure. Also, we are encouraging Kenyans to buy locally, because when you buy from Kenyan industries, you are promoting domestic camp industries. We are also building resilience of our economy. At the same time, we are keeping our jobs alive and increasing the income, not just of the industries, but also of us Kenyans, because we are the workers there. We also want, Kenyans to come and meet manufacturers directly. Most of the time we use trade partnerships with the distributors, wholesalers, and people don't know the face behind the brands. So Kenyan brands are good brands, so that's part of what we'll be doing at the Changamka Shopping Festival. There'll be some exciting discounts, ex-factory prices for those who would want to just, share a taste of their products with the Kenyans. So please let them come. We welcome all Kenyans to come and see what's on offer.
I know in the past, the Changamka Festival has been very strong, especially when it comes to selling Kenyan-made clothing, bed sheets, suits, shirts, and all that. What else can we expect to buy at the Changamka Festival? And the other question is, how do we make the Changamka Festival an everyday event?
Interesting. First, I must say, textile seems to take the day because, of course, they come with very high level of discounts to just share a taste of what they sell to the external markets. And they are giving very high discounts. So the excitement is normally around textile. But we also have footwear and leather. We have companies here, made in Kenya products from textile and footwear. We have also furniture. We have food products. Food also is quite big from across all types of food, edible oils, flour and such, and also personal care products. So across very many of those. We also have machinery, people selling equipments for either food processing. So we showcase all kinds of products, roofing solutions,
building and construction materials,
they are there.
Very good.
And you may not carry them in a basket.
Your breath there. Hold on to your breath. I mean, it's getting more exciting because we need to go to Mombasa, where the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, they're having their annual meeting there. Let's first of all listen in, and then we come back with more conversation with Joyce Njogu.
Development and sustainability. Private rights with public interest and innovation with inclusion. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the government of Kenya remains committed to creating a transparent, efficient, sustainable land administration system under the Ministry of Lands and Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. We have embarked on a comprehensive land digital agenda, including the Ardhi Sasa platform, to improve service delivery, enhance accountability, and hence enhance also transparency. We are also advancing urban renewal, affordable housing, and infrastructure programs aligned with the bottom-up economic transformative agenda of what we usually call better of the government. And I'm sure you are fully aware of this. Quite a number of Kenyans have taken full advantage of this low-cost housing opportunities. And I want to encourage the young fellows who are also in this room, please do not be left behind. These initiatives recognize that land and property are both economic assets and social goods essential for inclusive growth. I take this opportunity to assure land and built environment professionals that the government values and relies on professional bodies such as the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya to provide technical guidance, policy insights, and ethical leadership in these national efforts. The government has invested in creating special economic zones and export processing zones so as to expand the economy from the lower to higher middle income status in the medium and long term. Ladies and gentlemen, I am particularly encouraged by the integration of the 4th FIG Young Surveyors Africa Forum within this conference. And I think this is extremely important. I just want to add here, because then you can also be able to have the opportunity to do the mentorship. You can also be able to have that opportunity to do the cross-pollination, if you like, that you can be able to strengthen your network and share ideas and information on whatever caliber you are or whatever country you come from, and so that we can have a very strong and resilient institution as well. Let me emphasize, building the future requires an intentional and deliberate focus on the youth and the young professionals in land and build sector. I would like to speak to the youth, or should I say the young surveyors in the conference. Africa has a demographic advantage, a youth population that holds immense potential. And we keep on talking about this. Very important that we know even in our country, 60% plus are in that category. And if you look at the median age in Africa, it's actually around 19 or so. So this is a very relatively young continent. The future is very bright, but we must be able to do heavy investment in our young intellectuals so that they can continue being co-pilots in the developmental agenda. I do not believe that youth are the future leaders, but they're the leaders today, and we have to run together with you. The young, brilliant minds in this room and across the globe possess a unique combination of creativity, energy, and adaptability that are indispensable in navigating the challenges and the opportunity presented by the 21st century. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the youth are the heartbeat of any nation. It is our energy, creativity, and innovation that can propel our society to new heights. In Africa, and indeed in Kenya, we have one of the youngest population in the world, which I've just said earlier, with a median age significantly lower than that part of many other countries. It is an opportunity because the youth are the tremendous source of dynamism, untapped potential, and fresh ideas that can drive transformation in the land and build sector. Our youth of today are digital natives as well. They are grown up in a world where smartphones, the internet, and social media are the norms. And I think we really need to take advantage of this. You have a smartphone in your hand, and you have literally the entire globe within your reach, that you can be able to gather, you can be able to get information, but we must make sure that we do that direction so that we can make good use of that particular information. Online education platforms, for instance, have revolutionized the way young people learn. They provide access to wealth of knowledge around the world, making education more inclusive and accessible. And I think we have this Open University in Kenya. We also have the Kenya ICE at the Konza. All these are great opportunities that we can take full advantage of. With the rise of e-economy and digital marketing, young people can now start their businesses with minimal capital. And you know that recently His Excellency has launched, and our PSs are all over the place, really talking about the Nyota. I know it doesn't fit here because most of you, if not all, are at least that level of graduate, but also we have other opportunities within the government setup like Nyota project, where we are looking at the age of 18 and 29 years old, and to be able to help these guys who do not have any formal qualification to be able to start their own businesses. By doing so, we do not only create job opportunities, but also foster a culture of self-reliance and innovation. To young surveyors present, the torch of professionalism is being passed to you. Carry it with integrity, and I'm underlining that word integrity because this is one of the challenges that we have, curiosity and courage. The continent transformation will be shaped by your innovation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as Africa continues to integrate into African continental free trade area, there is a pressing need to harmonize professional standards and promote cross-border collaboration. And I think this is already over many years you have been doing this, and I want to encourage continuation of that. The issue of building synergies, collaboration and cooperation, and break the silos, because this is one of the major challenges we see not only in this profession but in many other professionals. So I encourage you to use this platform not only to discuss ideas but to build actionable partnership that influence policy at the national, regional, and global level. I think you've had what Professor Ochieng was talking about, looking at the KPAs, looking at the KPIs as well, so that we can be able to measure. For me, I trust and believe whatever we do, we must be able to do the socialization of it. That means we must be able to touch the society and be able to have a positive impact using our professional. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in an area defined by the climate change, urbanization, technological disruption, the survey professional must continuously adapt. The integration of geospatial intelligence, smart mapping, artificial intelligence, and digital twin technologies can revolutionize how we plan cities, manage natural resources, and respond to disasters. But technology must serve humanity and not just replace it, as my brother said it from the ICT. We must ensure that innovation in land management contributes to climate resilience, gender inclusivity, and the social equity. And I think Madam President of the Commonwealth did actually go very deep on this, looking at the issues of the climate change, looking at the issue of the gender. Nobody should be left behind, and most importantly, the social equity of whatever we do. So as we open this conference, I urge, maybe I should stop. If it was my statement, I would have stopped by then. But it is for His Excellency. So just few paragraphs. As we open this conference, I urge each delegate to engage with a purpose and passion. Let your deliberations here in Mombasa inspire new ideas, strong institutions, and lasting partnership. Let us envisage an Africa where land is not a source of conflict, but a foundation for peace and prosperity. And an Africa where surveyors are not just professionals, but custodians of equitable development. And an Africa where technology and ethics work hand in hand to build sustainable communities. So once again, I want really to take this opportunity to applaud the instructions of the surveyors of Kenya, the Survey Institute of Zimbabwe, the Institute of Surveyors of Uganda, Castle, the FIG, for their leadership in convening this transformative gathering. And I think this is a very clear testimony of what we can be able to get from collaboration and cooperation. So on behalf of the government of Kenya, I reaffirm our support to your noble work and our commitment to collaborate in building a continent where every parcel of land contributes to dignity, productivity, and sustainability. If I may pause for a second or two, Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we all know that almost 60% of the arable land in the world actually lies in Africa. Yet less than 10% of this global, we contribute to less percent of the global agricultural output. And most of the time, it is because, in my opinion, that we might not have the relevant policies and regulations that we need to put in place. But also, the things are changing now. Things are changing. We must be able to embrace science, research, and innovation. And we have had here, and especially for the young surveyors that are coming forward now, as you go into the future, it's going to be a different ball game. To what extent are we looking at issues such as the spatial satelliting, space science, artificial intelligence? All these are things that we really need to embrace as we go into the future. The population is ever increasing. In Africa, we are projecting almost 2.5 billion people by 2050. And again, as I've said, a relatively very young population. Hence, we have to look at ways and means of how we do urban planning. I mean, I just came, I was in Vienna for 10 years at the United Nations. And you can see that leadership. You could see that projection people had 100 years ago. Proper urban planning. And I think this is something that His Excellency Deputy Governor was talking about. We must be able to plan. We need to think. And I think His Excellency President Dr. William Samoei Ruto has already moved in that trajectory. We've been talking about better bottom-up economic transformative agenda. We are also talking about the Vision 2030, which is just around the corner. We've heard about the SDGs. We know about the Africa Agenda 2063. But His Excellency is telling us it is unacceptable that 60 years after independence, we are lagging behind, of which countries such as Singapore, Malaysia, right? We were at par with them early 60s. So he wants us to leapfrog. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we address certain challenges of the society. We must be able to have the visionary leaders. We must be able to embrace science, research, and innovation. So I really want to urge, as we go into our professionals, this is what the Singaporeans and Malaysians and South Korea did from early 60s. And it took them about 30 years to be where they are. I think it is possible. It is through partnership, it is through collaboration, it is through mentorship, it is through having appropriate education system. It is through having an appropriate pedagogy, the way we communicate, the way we teach. So really, I want to encourage you as you continue with this conference, take note of what you have achieved in the past, and let's think outside the box. Let's embrace new technologies, and if possible, let's create a new box. In my State Department, we are also available. Our really work is to do advisory, to do the promotion, to do the regulation on all matters to do with science, technology, and innovation. And we work very closely with other State Departments to see how Kenya can leapfrog from where it is to the first world country, and I think it is possible. Friends, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct honor and pleasure to officially declare the 10th ISK African Regional Conference officially open.
Well, that is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Science there, Shaukat Abdul Razak, Professor, addressing members of the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya in Mombasa during the ongoing annual conference. Now we're back in studio with Joyce Njogu, and we're winding up this conversation. And of course, we've been talking about the upcoming Changamka Festival, as well as the Industrialization Conference, which is taking place at the International Convention Center. Before we went for that live Jogo lab. So when is it running? Is entry free? Can you give us such details?
Yes, the festival, Changamka Festival, will start from the 4th, that is next week, Tuesday, November, all the way to Saturday, 8th November, at the KICC, Kenya International Convention Center. Kenyatta International Convention Center.
Yeah.
And it's free of charge. You walk in and attend, go and walk around, look at all the opportunities showcased there. It's also a big opportunity for business. There'll be B2B sessions there. We'll be doing a bit of matchmaking, and at the same time we are bringing in some buyers from different parts of Africa who will come and see the products and begin to see how they can do business with Kenyans and take their products to other African markets. So the opportunities are huge for those who want to be part of this growing of the manufacturing sector agenda, which we are picking from the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, Build Kenya policy and strategy. So this is part of the implementation process of inspiring Kenyans to look at growing domestic markets and domestic industries.
And this is also a fertile ground for bargain hunters.
Yes.
You talked about bottom prices.
Yes. So if you're a bargain hunter, this is an excellent place. So in fact, from high-end products to, things, some products, of course, are highly priced, but still they're cheaper than if you went to the main retail stores on a normal day.
Very well.
So, and some of them, you can make your orders and you'll receive them later, depending on the bulk of what you're purchasing. Like I said earlier, roofing solutions. Maybe you want to buy a vehicle. Maybe you want to buy something at a discounted price. This is a good place to come and see. But for those who are business-minded, please come and share business ideas, strike deals. Walk home with a big business partner or a big, deal that can help you move forward your business opportunities and partnerships.
I can guarantee you this. We are coming to Kenyatta International Convention Center.
I'll be there.
I'll be coming to buy our Kenyan flag.
Oh, thank you.
I hope they are going to be. And I'm also encouraging people, please go out there, buy the Kenyan flag. It's very beautiful. You hang it around your houses. You hang it in your bedroom. You hang it everywhere. It's a beautiful flag. I want you to go out there and buy the Kenyan flag. Joyce, I also hope that you're going to buy the Kenyan flag.
I will, but most importantly, let's promote Kenyan products.
Precisely.
What we are saying, buy Kenya products.
Buy Kenya, build Kenya.
Yes, thank you.
And Kenya is beautiful.
Amen. Thank you.
Very good. Joyce Njogu, thank you very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. Now it's 15 minutes past 12 o'clock. And so we have to wind up this conversation. But we'll see you next week.
Thank you. See you at KCC.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's all meet at Changamuka Festival as we buy Kenya and we build Kenya. See you there. Good afternoon. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Halid is coming up next with Kurunzi. Stay tuned.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.